Hey guys, I am back and today I'm actually in my new studio apartment in St. Pete. I'm so excited about being here. I'm like 8 minutes away from downtown St. Pete where like all the action is. So like all the restaurants and the cool little area. I'm about 10 to 15 or like 12 minutes away from the beach, which is really awesome. I cannot believe that I can just like pick up and go to the beach. That's insane to me. And then just everything is really close by. So like I went to Trader Joe's yesterday and that was like only 8 minutes away. So I've like never been this close to stuff. I'm used to the suburbs. I'm used to like getting in the car, going 15 minutes, and then getting to a place. Never really lived in like a city grid system where it's like avenues and streets and everything makes sense. And I'm like, wow, this is so convenient. I can't believe I've just always lived this suburban life. And even now that like I'm in a neighborhood itself, which is still kind of suburban in a sense. Like it's a residential area. It's very quiet, feels like very safe. And that was really important to me was to find a place that I felt like, secure in and that I could get my work done. And, I kind of felt like in the about a week I was staying in like downtown St. Pete, where like the stuff I could just walk to so I can leave the hotel slash apartment and like go downstairs and all the food is there. And it was really fun. And I liked that kind of vibe too. But then I was like, I would be so distracted. I would just want to be like outside all the time. So I think this is kind of the happy medium where I can get that life of like, I can go out and I can, you know, like if I want to go out, I can just totally like take the car, go to the beach. I can get a bicycle. I'm actually looking at electric bikes because I'm like, that would be awesome just to like ride down to wherever I want to go and lock the bike up and then like enjoy that. I've never lived that life. I guess one time when I was living in California, me and my boyfriend at the time had an Airbnb for, I want to say it was close to like 2 months or a little bit under that, but that was the only experience that I had close to this where we would like ride our bikes to the beach every day. We were on like a 10-minute bike ride to the beach and like living in Santa Monica. I mean, it was just amazing. And I think we both got a taste of what life would be like that. And we both really enjoyed it. But it's so crazy expensive that it's just until we're making like that kind of money where we can be doing that, which I foresee that's going to be very soon. I'm manifesting it that that kind of life is great too, but I feel like for now for where I am and what I'm trying to do and my main focus with moving was to find focus. And that was mainly because when I was back in Atlanta, I had a lot going on with like family. I had a lot going on just in general with like friends and like, having like an active life and that type of thing. And so it just kind of like, I always have had all these goals and these things I've wanted to do, but like I would always just kind of put it behind or like not ever get to it. So my main focus with coming out here was one, to find balance, being by the beach. And I just know that like it feeds my soul. I feel really good, but also getting so much clarity and finding focus because even like just waking up today and like being in a space that's like clean and everything's in its space and I can like really take my time and ease into the morning and be like, well, what do I want to do today? And I looked at my schedule like on my calendar and I have a couple of sales meetings with my studio manager. So I figured before I get into all of that and like, because that does kind of deplete my energy too, is when I'm on these calls and that kind of thing. So we're going to be taking a few different calls today. And then I have one client that I have to like review their timeline and schedule out their hours and make the game plan for like our schedule because their wedding is next week. Um, so we have a lot going on today, but I really liked the idea of like easing into the morning, kind of, doing my journaling. I did some fun little quick posts on Instagram to kind of update everyone on where I am and what I'm doing, and I'm good. And I think that kind of helps because they feel like they can kind of, see what I'm up to and see that I'm okay. And a lot of people were just like, wow, you just picked up and moved. And I'm like, yeah, I did. So what? So let's get into today's episode. I have a good topic because even yesterday I went to like this Tampa wedding professionals meetup, and I met a bunch of different people there and like photographers and all different wedding vendors. It was a really cool networking event to kind of just meet the people here and kind of introduce who I am and like what I'm here to do. So I found it really kind of interesting that like when people asked me what I did, it was my instinct to say photographer, and that was rolling out. But like, I didn't really want to say I'm just a photographer. Like, I do so many things. I'm like a business coach, I'm a life coach, I'm like all over the place with like different ideas, and I want to do different businesses and that kind of stuff. So that really did have me thinking like, okay, now I'm like wanting to expand and just not being like, oh, I'm just a photographer. Not saying that that's a bad thing. It's just like I want more from it, if that makes sense. So I did have this realization when I was talking to a photographer that I've met that I have been talking to on Instagram a lot, and he wants to learn from me. And so I was kind of sharing my words of wisdom, and I was like, you know what, this would be a good episode to kind of talk to people about. And that's like with you get your first event, now what? You know, like you book your first wedding, you book your first photo shoot, now what? What do you do? What's the next steps? How do you like overcome this new idea of like you're about to do something you haven't really done before professionally or maybe haven't been paid for? So what do you need to do to prepare for it? So I feel like this episode I want to dedicate to that for anyone that is thinking about doing photography or thinking about stepping into something new and something different, and they're not really sure. So this applies to all of that. So it's the same information, but like you could use it towards whatever field. So say if you're like wanting to get into spirituality and you want to learn how to do Reiki, or you want to learn how to do acupuncture. I mean, I think you have to go to like actual school for that, but Reiki, you can learn online, you can learn through actual teachers. Even I know how to do Reiki. I've been taught by two teachers, so I'm on level 2. I want to get back to practicing that too, because I do feel really good with it. But, you know, with any field that you are venturing into something new, it's important to be prepared. And by that, I mean, like, know what you're getting yourself into. So how do you do that? You know, how do you figure what to do? And I'll be talking more about in the terms of photography, because that's mainly my, you know, this channel is kind of based on that. So, but you could apply it to any situation. So basically, before any type of shoot, my thing is to find clarity with getting my gear all together, charging my batteries, replacing old batteries, organizing my gear, seeing what I have. And that really does help me figure out like, am I missing anything? Are all my memory cards here? It gets me in that mode of like assessing everything and just feeling prepared, getting things organized, cleaning my gear, so cleaning my lenses. And I really like to make this kind of like a ritual type of thing. So with me, I love anything with a vibe. So I'll play on some like calming music, or like if I'm like in a more spunkier mood, it'll be more upbeat. I've been into like some different kind of tunes lately. So I might do something more fun if I'm in a more lively mood. But if I really want to just kind of focus and like be in my calm zone, then I'll play like something. I'm really into frequencies. So you can type in on YouTube, like frequency for abundance, frequency for calming your nerves, frequency for just anything, like it's for healing your body. I mean, there's a frequency for everything. So by frequency, there's certain sounds that can help your cells like regenerate in different ways. And they found that through sound therapy, through like listening to frequencies and even like getting therapy by sound healers, that it does help you on like a vibrational level. So that's why I got into that. So yeah, like make it a ritual, make it kind of, your own thing. Don't be like, oh my God, I have to follow what she said. She said frequency, and I don't know anything about it. But if you're into it, I would say, like, try it out, see how you like it. Maybe you like the calming music when you're going through your gear. I really like to just lay everything out. So by that, I'm just like, put everything out of, take it out of my bags and like see what I have physically there in front of me. And then from there, I'll like, go through each thing, erase my memory cards, make sure everything's formatted, but also make sure that everything is backed up and I have everything dumped. So by like taking, your time and going through what you have, it's just a really great thing to do to like kind of get more mindful about what you're doing, what you're getting yourself into. So I would say that definitely does help. And I usually like to do this a few days before, at least 2 to 3 days before, so that like once it's done, then I have everything put back in its place and it's like ready to go. And I'm not like scrambling because I used to be a mess. I used to do everything last minute and just like be rushing out the door and then forget stuff. And oh my God, I left this. And I've found that by, me not being in that clear state of mind and me kind of being all over the place, that it did have to affect with like when I was shooting. So like if I came to the shoot scrambled and like I couldn't find anything, it made me more stressful and made me more anxious. It made me just like super stressed out on like, oh my God, they're expecting this and I don't have it. So I would just be so full of anxiety. But by taking that time to like really sit with everything I have, organize it, just feel into it, that really helps me get prepared. So I'm about to be on a huge travel journey the next few weeks where I zigzag all around the world. So next week I go to New York, and then in September, that's my big trip. So we have a wedding in Louisville. From there, I go to New York. From New York, I go to Italy. From Italy, we go to Spain. And then from Spain, I go back to New York. I shoot a wedding in New York. And then I go from that wedding to a wedding in Chicago. And then from Chicago, I think then I come back home to Tampa because I did just change my flight not to go back to Atlanta. So it's a lot of zigzagging everywhere. And for me, I'm now like in this mode, especially being here, it's really taught me to like think minimal. Don't feel like I need to bring every single little thing, because I think that is one thing as photographers is like we'll pack everything because we're like, just in case, just in case we need that, just in case, something comes up and we need that. And of course, we always need our backup gear. That is one thing I do advise, like never travel so minimally that you just have one camera, because anything can happen and you need to just have a backup in case. So I always travel with two bodies. I always travel with at least two lenses. My main lens is the 28 to 70. And then I do have like a 50 millimeter. I'm trying to get a 70 to 200 is my goal to get one of those. So I usually am like, that's kind of the range of what I have. And then I have different flashes and like strobes that I use. So like to me, you can almost be in a place of like overabundance, or like you're overly doing it. Like I know sometimes I bring like 5 flashes to a wedding, and I'm like, do I really need 5 flashes? Like in reality, I only use 3. So one on my camera and 2 off camera. And that does the job. It does what I need, but it's always that thought in the back of your head, like, oh my God, something's going to go wrong with the flash and I need another one. So maybe it would be good to have 4. So like it's really teaching me, especially being here in this minimal environment that I'm in, is like be more mindful of the stuff I do have, not like feel like I have to take everything. And so for my big trip to Europe, I have to travel as light as possible because one, I don't want to worry about checking in bags and that kind of stuff. And two, it's just like the weight of everything, you have to travel really light. So I'm going to be really strategic with what I pack. I'm pretty much going to have like a very limited wardrobe, and um I'm excited about it, honestly. It's just like this is amazing that at this point in my career that at this point to like travel, around the world. It's just crazy to say. But we're here now, so I'm really thankful for it, but I'm going to make the best out of it. I'm going to do it very strategically. I'm going to make sure that I have what I need and that I'm not like scrambling and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to think minimally, going to take my two bodies, going to take um probably one lens. I don't really anticipate me needing more than one, but we'll see. I'm still on the fence about it, but flashes just real minimal, like just one. I'm thinking about upgrading to like the pro photo because that's like a nice size. And I'm thinking I just kind of want to have something more portable because the one I have right now is great, but it's just kind of clunkier and heavier. And I just don't want to worry about that when I'm traveling. So yeah, so back to why you want to make it a ritual, why you want to take that time. It's because without taking the time to prepare, you won't know what you have, or you can feel discombobulated that things are out of place, and this will affect your energy. So I like to tie everything back into energy because I just really see how much that influences everything. So if your life is a mess and you're scattered and you're all over the place, and then you get hired to, shoot a wedding, and you come with that same attitude of all this stuff going on, and you're just, how are you going to perform to your optimum? Like, how are you going to, be your best self when you're kind of all over the place in your head? So you want to do this to kind of clear out the clutter, clear out the chaos. And I feel like this is like something I am really just leaning a lot into with living here. I mean, I've always kind of liked things in their place, but when I was living with family back in Atlanta, it was like I would come home, and when things were all over the place, I would just kind of feel this sense of like, oh my God, and like, I don't like coming home to this. I don't, and I know it's like with kids, that's just part of it. But like for me, living in my whole adult life and not really having that, it was like an eye opener that, like, no, I like my space very clean. And it's not like to a crazy OCD level. It's just, I like organization. I like things in its place so I'm not losing it. And that came over time. Like I've only been this way probably in the last mm, maybe 5 or 6 years. And I want to say that my ex-boyfriend uh really kind of showed me that in a sense because he liked things in a place, and I was a hot mess when we met. Like it looked like nice on the outside, but like the drawers were all scattered. They had so much stuff, and it was like it kind of just forced me to like look at what I have, assess what I have, get rid of the old so you can welcome in the new. So another tip that I have with like you've booked your first gig, now what, how to prepare would be to arrive early. This is one thing that I think a lot of people don't really look into as much because they're just like, oh, if my start time's like at 4 p.m., I'm going to be there like at 4, right? Like that's the time I start. So that's the time I get there. And in actuality, if that's like your starting time to shoot, you need to get there early so you can just set up, so you can scope. So I always advise to get to the location early. I give about 45 minutes to an hour to make sure there is no issue with like traffic, with parking. That can be one thing too, is like when you are doing shoots in different locations, especially in different cities, is like you don't know how the parking is going to be. If it's in the middle of the city, you might have to like park in a deck that's like a walk far away and you have to walk to it. And that's like another 15 to 20 minutes. So if you don't factor into that, you will come back to being discombobulated because you'll be rushing. And then you won't have that like clarity of like, oh, okay, I know what to focus on. And I know that I have to get my gear ready and I'm going to be ready to start at 4. When you're rushing, things will go wrong. And by coming early, you will have time to get your mind right. You'll be in the mode that, okay, I'm ready to shoot. And I've seen all different photographers because I've definitely hired so many people. I've worked with different people. So I've seen all different the people on the spectrum of like, who come like 2 hours early because they're paranoid and they just want to be there. but also they like that time to ease into it. So I see that too, is like getting there 2 hours early. You can sit in your car, you can be on your phone, you can kind of like, you're at the location, so you're not rushing. So I see that. Then I see the people who are like, texting me pictures of like the traffic, and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to be late. And I'm like, it is what it is at that point. Like, I don't give into it and like be like, oh my God, why are you late? Cause it's just like, I can't control the situation. So what am I going to get out of that? I'm just like, okay, drive safe. And then usually, I'm there ahead of time, so it's fine and that type of thing. So why you want to come early is because you can scout the location, you can plan your shoot and know the best spots for lighting, and you can create your plan for the day. So I love to get to venues early because of that, because I can really calculate what's looking good with the light. Where's like my best shadiest spot? Where's the best direct sun if I need to get them into the sun for a little bit to get some dramatic shots. And I can kind of like, plan out what I want to do in the sense. And it's not a concrete thing. That's one thing I want to really stress with weddings is like, you need to be flexible in the sense of like, you may not be able to get to all your locations. You may not be able to like, God, his hair keeps like messing with me. You may not be able to get to everything that you exactly want, but I would come up with like your top 2 or 3 locations and try to stick with that. Also, you have to factor into like, the bride's outfit. Is it easy for them to move around? If it's not, keep it easy, keep it one location. They'll thank you. They'll like really love that they don't have to go all over the place, but also talk to them about it too and be like, look, are you comfortable moving around? I always just, communication is key, guys. Like, communicate to your clients. You're the expert. So if you're like coming to them and you're like, hey, I know I picked out 3 locations that I think would be amazing. Are you up for it? And if you keep it like that, then they're more likely to be like, yeah, yeah, okay, let's do that. Or they'll be like, oh, like the outfit's a lot to deal with. I don't really want to like mess with that. Can we, just keep it to one location? And then that way you're on the same page. So you want to create that plan for the day. Another tip is to calm your nerves, and however you need to do that. So by calming your nerves, it could be like getting some coffee. Some people love coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker. I like more tea. I like lattes and stuff here and there, but I'm trying to kind of steer away from that because I know it's just like a lot of added sugar and that kind of thing. So I'm kind of weaning off of that now and getting back into the tea regimen. Also doing affirmations, and just like, even if it's like looking at yourself in the mirror and just being like, you got this, like, you know what you're doing, you're here, like pepping yourself up. And that's okay to do. But, like, we're human. We need that, you know, that uplifting type of vibe, even if it is from ourselves. Another thing that you can do is take some deep breaths. I think that's one thing that no one really teaches us how to do because we just breathe very shallow. Like, we almost kind of take it for granted of like how breathing is so easy. But in stressful situations, just like taking a deep breath, breathe in from your nose and just feel like your belly expand and get really tight. And then you hold it and then you release and you let it go. And it's almost like you can start imagining like a white light filling you up. You can start imagining um just like a good situation where you feel good, like a good scene in your head. Like me is always, I'm at the beach. I love the beach. It's just where I belong and I love. But it's just like you can do that to kind of calm your nerves, and you'll really just be able to settle into that feeling. So I think by doing that, you can like feel into the day. You can also listen to really calming music or even music to hype you up. I know some people that like come to weddings, and these are some of my own shooters that like blossom like rap music, and it just kind of gets them into that zone of like, okay, we're going to do something on at this wedding and I'm excited. And I'm here for that. I'm here for whatever you need to do to get your vibe right, get you right in that right mental space so you know what's going on and you just can kind of feel into it. And that way you're ready for the shoot. Another tip, now the tips are just coming to me, and I had some written, but now I'm like just in the flow. So, another tip is preparing yourself with what the bride or the couple is envisioning. So if they are, very specific and they really want certain shots, I always have them come up with like a mood board, make a Google Drive link, and like that way they're able to put their inspiration. And that way, before the wedding, I can kind of look through everything. And this is even like the day of the wedding, I will like really look at everything and be like, okay, so this here, and start strategizing. And that gives me a game plan. I know I did talk to someone about this yesterday, and they're like, oh my God, I feel so bad if I take out my phone and I make them do a pose that's not professional. And I'm like, I see it way differently. Like, I see it as that it's okay to get some help, and it's okay to use inspiration, and it's okay to take your phone out and be like, hey, I wanted to show you these poses so you can see what they're doing so it can help you understand what I'm trying to get you to do. Because a lot of people, they don't know. And it's like if they are not guided in the right way, like I could tell you what to do, or I could show you on the phone and be like, hey, this is the pose right here. I need you like this. And then you can fine tune it better. And honestly, I've never had anyone look at me and be like, oh my God, that's not professional. Why would you do that? You should just know these poses. We are human, we forget. And oftentimes, as the lead photographers and lead cinematographers, we have a lot going on in our head. We have to keep like the timeline in check. We have planners on us that we can't, be over a certain amount of time. So we have a lot of different variables in our head. So any chance you can help yourself, you do that. So I'm all for, creating the Google Drive, having that, that phone around, or even giving it to your second shooter or assistant and being like, hey, I need you to hold this. Because a lot of times, like, I will have my second shooter get different angles and that kind of thing. But sometimes if I just need them to be more of an assistant of like just helping with my lighting or helping with the outfit, or like if their veil is crazy long, they can help with that. So like having someone that's more, can kind of wear multiple hats, they can have the phone, and that way they're the ones that you're like, okay, I need you to remind me to get these shots. So you make it their responsibility to come to you and be like, oh yeah, what about this, this, and this? And then that kind of gets your mind rolling again. Another tip is sometimes when you do have those moments when you freeze up and you're just kind of like, just have a brain fart. I don't really know what to pose them with. I have like a really nice six poses type of flow that I like to do. I guess you could say it's a flow. And then from there, I kind of, mix and match in between, and like one leads to the other, leads to the other. So like it flows really nicely. And I think I'm gonna make a course on that now that I'm thinking about it, because that could be very helpful for people to know my flow. So like there'll be times that like I do everything and then I get to this point where I'm like, okay, I did everything, now what? And I'm like, freeze. So what I do in that situation when I have my little freeze ups is like I'll tell the videographer like, hey, can you do some shots with them for you? And then that will kind of like jumpstart me seeing him pose in different ways, and then or her pose in different ways, and then I'll let them get their shots, and then I'll be able to come back in. So I think that's really fun. I have to sneeze, and I might sneeze and it might be really loud, but it just went away. Okay. Yeah, so I think that is good for today. I hope that you got some clarity on if you are starting a new venture or something new. I mean, the same thing can be applied to everything. So even if you are wanting to start like becoming your own boss with like interior designing, or if you want to be a healer, or if you want to become a business coach, you could apply the same stuff in just a different way. So, like, for instance, it's just like when you're working with clients, right? When you're working with other people, you have to really, take it professionally, be early, be on time, be ready to go, not be scattered, have some different options for them, and just keep it flexible and fun. So I hope that really helped you guys. I will wrap this episode up. And I'm glad that I could tune in today for my new place. I hope everything sounded good. I'm just really loving the vibes here and I'm already having so much good energy. So super excited and take care. See you on the next one.